I got sort of like, okay, we were in prison, right?
Yeah.
Where were we? And you would witness the things that were going on, what
Right.
not to do's. So listen up, guys. He's taking off from here.
Yeah, stay out of gambling. First of all, stay out of prison.
Right.
Right? And you'd be surprised how many people are there that never expected to be there. And drugs are probably the leading cause. I would imagine that even in the state of California today, if you go back to 1960, I think there was only about 6 prisons in the state of California.
9.
There was 9. Yeah, 9 prisons in the state of Cal. DVI, San Quentin, Folsom, Chino.
Tehachapi's
pretty old. Yeah.
So, Tracy, you called DVI.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there was Susanville was one of the older ones. And there was only so many prisons, and most of the prisons had people that really were in there for murder and
crimes,
real crimes. And maybe 15% of the people were in there for little rinky-dink drug shit and working their way out.
It's 91% now.
Now it's 91% of the population in prison are all on drug-related offenses.
Or drugs were involved
somehow or another. Whether you were caught moving them, whether you were caught using them, whether you were caught selling them, whatever the case may be.
You were loaded on them and you created you to do this, that, the other, you know what I mean?
Right. And a lot of people going in there and in reality being thrown into a gladiator school and then they're playing all these games. You go in one thing and come out something else.
Correct.
And there's no such thing as rehabilitation. Our system is, I'm sorry, it's a joke.
What are you sorry for? You didn't create it?
Well, I mean, I don't like to say that about the country I live in, but it's a joke. It's a joke. And everybody's treating it that way. It's become nothing. If you think you're hip, slick, and cool, let me tell you something. You're a cow. That's what I was, a cow. I'm a cow in a pen. They don't care what happens to me. They're generating money from it. And it's a horrible way. It was turned into an industry to make money to raise tax, to tax.
Prison industries.
It's prison industries, and they're not making anything. They're not making anything. No one's getting rehabilitated. And they only, in California, I think the statistic is they need to arrest 10,000 people a day to keep the system fed.
They're succeeding.
And they're succeeding.
Bob Barker owns a few private penitentiaries.
Bob Barker boots,
yeah.
And the Kung Fu Fighters. How long did you have your Kung Fu Fighters for? Mine lasted till the toes started coming out of them. But the Bob Barker boots with the plastic bottoms.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So,
but as actually as horrible as prison is, to die rotting in an alley
even
slowly
more horrible.
is even more horrible. And to continue on, like I said, I went through prison. I did all right. I didn't get high. I didn't drink. I didn't drink Pruno.
You went in 97. What's that? A J number?
No, I'm a K number.
K number.
K 82488. I think is my K number. Yeah. And
I was just trying to picture the number.
Yeah, I had a K number, and I got out of there, and I got into they offered me a halfway house. I took a halfway house, and I had construction skills. I got a job. I was riding a bike to work. And it was cool to be able to get out of there at 5:30 in the morning and I got to ride a bike to work and have a job, and I got out of the halfway house, and it took 2 weeks before I got high. And all, like, it's weird how it just creeps its way into your life, and there it is. Bam, I'm high. Dirty test. They violate you. You go out in Laredo, they go out there, they used to take you out to Laredo. There was that middle building that you went in, and then you went straight out to you went to a reception yard, did like a 30-day dry out, you came back, they kick you back to parole. Now you're doing 36 months of parole. You screwed up, you're getting the whole 3 years. And I gave a few dirty tests, and my parole officer came to the house one day, and I was amazed at the way he put it. He said, you come from a pretty good family. You seem to have a head on your shoulders. What the hell is your problem? And I couldn't answer that question. And it's moments like that when you start thinking about the mother and father crying on the other side of the glass. the pain you cause your family. You know, it all comes like time travel stops. And it all comes at you. And you got two paths to go. One is denial, block it out and act like it's everybody else's fault and move on. Or two is you go, wow, a big chunk of my life has been taken up by a substance, by a powder. And I want to act like I'm badass. I want to act like I'm tough. No, a powder kicked my ass.
Lost your freedom, lost your integrity, lost your morals, lost everything.
Yeah. And then he goes, what do you think you need? And I said, I want to try the program again. And he got me in a program. And it was really kind of, I was at the point where you know what? I understand most people have been taught religion with a stick. I don't even like the word religion. It should be something that makes your life fuller. Instead, it's something that everybody fights over. So I don't even like the word. But a spiritual well-being. All right?
Beautiful.
If you have one iota of faith, you know, grab a hold of that and nurture it. All right. See, I didn't have a problem with a God of my understanding. Like I said, I'd been in the program before. So the steps of this program that I'm telling you about right now, as I got there, when I'm broke down, when you're broke down and you're sitting there going, I got nothing left. I barely have the shoes on my feet. No one wants me around. The only place I go, you know how many people, they just choose jail or prison as a place to live?
It's comfortable.
It's comfortable. Used to it. I know the rules, I can get by here. All right? It's sad. It's truly sad to live in what is supposed to be the freest country in the world, and we're locked into a jail of our own making.
Whether we're incarcerated or not, we're still locked in a jail right here.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll never forget. I always thought the song Hotel California was written about drug addiction. They swear it's not. But when you listen to the words, it's easy to, when you hear some dance to remember, some dance to forget. You know, stabbed it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast, you know. It's so much just like drug addiction. Last thing I remember, I was running towards the door, trying to find the passage back to the place I was before. I spent, I don't know how many years doing that on drugs, trying to get back to where it was, and it doesn't happen. And that man said,
We're
programmed to receive. You could check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. You know, I personally believe that, and I don't intend on ever trying. I got people that care about me and friends that still to this day will go like, don't you think you could have a beer? And I'm like, you don't want me drinking. Because I got a funny feeling if I take one, I'm doing it all. And I don't think, you know what?
Pour me a double and call the cops.
I don't know. Pour me a double and give me that shotgun, because
Right.
I'm out of here. I'm done. If that's what I'm going to go back to, what the fuck am I here for?
Right.
You know, and I'm glad I'm where I'm at today. I'm glad that someone could call me and say, hey, come down and do a testimony for me on this, and I'm here. And my wife wants to be a part of this, you know, and my kid's happy that I do this.
Beautiful.
You know, I still love this part because I was in that recovery home, and this is in 1999, and we're doing, and I'm reading a book, and I'm doing this stuff, and we were talking about this thing in this room, and we were talking about a step 4 thing, which is that's you'll figure that out later. But and the guy that was running this program, he's sitting there and he picks me out of the crowd. He goes, he looks at me. He goes, have you ever fucked a chicken? I said, I'm looking at him like, normally you'd get offended by that and want to be mad. But I was all, no, I never fucked a chicken. And he said, have you ever blackout drank? I said, yeah, I blackout drank. He said, then you might have fucked a chicken. And instead of getting mad, I was all, you know, I did fuck the vacuum cleaner. You know,
Might have fucked a chicken.
yeah, I might have fucked a chicken. So you know what? I'm with you on that. You're right. You know, that was my first epiphany in all of this. That woke me up to the fact of, you know what? There's all the stuff I did. I never thought I would do it, and here I am, able to live through it and tell you about it. You know?
You got a feather right here. Feather.
I got a feather.
Chicken feather.
Oh, fuck. I fell for that 100%. Dude, I was going, really? How long have I been talking with a fucking feather on it? No, I suck chicken dick, right? All right, I got you. All right, that was pretty good.
Right.
That was pretty good. So, my epiphany number 2 in this whole journey, I was about 28 days in, dude. And a lot of us go into these programs and you start pushing weights. You know, you're in the back on the weight pile and you're making the outside look good. You're making the outside look good. But the inside still pretty much the computer chips are fucked up and it's not working right. So that's what this whole program's about, is getting the inside to try to match the outside. You know? So I'm working on this, and I'm at a meeting, and right next to me is 5-Day Wonder Boy, and I'm like 28-day Superman. And this lady gets out of this meeting. She goes,
We have a coffee commitment. It's a really good commitment. It's a year-long commitment. It's really rewarding, and
it's for cooking coffee at a meeting. And I'm like, what the fuck is coffee cooking going to do 28-day Superman, right? And right in, 5-Day Wonder Boy looks up at me and goes like, hey, 28-day Superman, that looks like a good job for you. And 28-day Superman's like, what the fuck does 5-Day Wonder Boy know about 28-day Superman? So something happened. And I raised my hand. And I got this coffee cooking job. And I had to make the big pots of coffee. So after this meeting, they gave me these keys, and I got keys. It's a Friday night meeting, and I show up early, and I make coffee, and I made some badass coffee, dude. I took that whole can. I was like, half and half, you know what I mean? At break time, people are walking around, we like coffee guy. Yeah, that guy makes some good coffee. And that was my first time doing something like, hey, they like what I did, you know? So,
I'm curious, did 5-Day Wonder Guy take the cigarette butt picking up job?
no, you know what? There's 5-Day Wonder Boy, you know, we'll jump to this. The cool part about it is when I go back, and I'd like to keep it all in line, but it's hard to do it in a show like this. But 5-Day Wonder Boy, there's a part of me that's like, I've never seen that guy since. And you know what? For everybody listening, you know, I don't know what happened to that guy. And he might have been someone who saved my life. Because just him going, hey, I got that coffee cooking job.
All right, what you can be sure of, he's not the one who took a commitment.
Yeah.
You're still around.
I
he's
took
not.
a commitment. Exactly. But you know what? I'm grateful for that.
For sure.
And there's a little saying in all these programs, don't leave before the miracle happens, you know? And there's another one I like to throw in. Some of these miracles aren't necessarily what you want, but they're probably what you need. And I know I needed the ones I got, and one of them was cooking that damn coffee.
Sure.
And that's part of my wife's story. Because she had this big old bitch telling her in prison, when you get out of here, you ought to go cook some coffee. And at the time that was happening, she was like, fuck you, bitch, go cook your own coffee, you know? And you hear her whole story and you realize, wow, now I don't even know. Half of us don't even know what's coming our way or what's being handed to us because it's not what we wanted. It was what we needed.
For sure.
And I ended up cooking coffee. Had to tell him to get new coffee on the first day I cooked coffee. I tried to tell that to the secretary. She's all, well, I gave you the coffee. I'm all, well, I used it. And she's all, that was supposed to last a month. I'm all, it didn't, you know. And everybody's out in the parking lot, we like that coffee, you know. And I had to learn how to make coffee right. And I was at this Friday night meeting, and I'd carry my little towel, and I'd show up 15 minutes early, and I'd leave a little late. And in the process of doing that, I started meeting people. And that's how we met. You know, we met under the same kind of circumstances. Sure. I started meeting people. I started talking to people from all over. And the thing about it is, there was a commonality. There was a union of, it all came from the same thing. And believe you me, the beauty of this thing is, if you could just get clean long enough to start searching for your own help, to start searching for real answers, you'll realize that drugs are about this much of the problem. The biggest problem is right here. Look at the guy in the mirror. Look at the girl in the mirror.
And that goes for people that don't use drugs.
Yeah.
That's why I say our steps are so, they can be implemented in everyone's lives, because the person that is always blaming someone else, and they're not a drug addict.
Yeah.
They have drug addict behavior.
Right.
Yeah, they're just not loaded,
Right.
I consider that loaded because that's what I say, they're loaded. There may not be a drug involved, but that's loaded behavior.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants to look at their part until it's too late. And, people say all the time, drug addicts is not a disease like you were saying earlier. Getting clean is not a disease. Well, I feel that once you make a choice, there is a decision to make, but once you make a choice, you're ready to turn your life around.
Right.
Well,
look, you know how easy what he just said? I'll tell you how it is. Only the first step says we are powerless over our addiction and our lives have become unmanageable. Every step after that has everything to do, no word of drugs or in any of the rest of it. It's all about living a better life.
Correct.
And it's all about finding a way to understand what's going on and accept things that go on in your life and I still do it to this day. I still sit there sometimes think the aliens are fucking with me or God's fucking. And you know where that all comes from? A weird sense, like when I look up and things are going wrong and I'm like, oh, what are you doing? That's so selfish. All right? The reason is I was taught that there was this thing in this dude in the sky that is ready to punish me for everything I do wrong. And I'm just a believer that's not it.
Right? So we're going to take a short break and we'll be back with you in a few.